Hi, I am Shamara. I am the owner of the Rock Crystal Shop, and while I've had a very interesting time learning about being a business owner after I did corporate, bit of a shock to the system, and well, doing some parts of it well and some parts of it not, my guide said it was time to share all that I had learnt about the crystals during those 18 years that I was running shops and doing markets, and that only just working on the website from now on would make it easier for me to get this new work going. It was always in plan 10 years ago. I was told that I'd be doing something in depth. I just didn't expect it to be this. So this is one of my very first videos that's going live. I hope you enjoy it, and the whole purpose of it is to help people know what not to do with an amethyst cave and what to do, so that it gives you as many years of practical love. I'm not going to talk about the metaphysical at this point, just the practical parts of loving it. So firstly, a lot of people don't think about that when they buy crystals, that there is a particular type of care they need. And amethyst caves are kind of that pinnacle crystal that people want, particularly the biggest, the better. And certainly, hopefully you might get it as an anniversary gift, you might get it as a wedding gift, or you just save up really hard and over time you can buy a really big piece. But the disappointment for so many people is that they're not told properly how to look after it. And they take their lovely cave or their very big amethyst cluster, which you will see later in the end is one that I actually own, and they stick it in the full sun. Well, most crystals have grown in the dark, and most crystals do not tolerate full sun. And you will go from having a beautiful purple crystal to one that suddenly gets paler and paler and paler until eventually it's, pretty well grey. So let's get you not doing that. Yes, you might want to put the crystal in some sunshine to re-energize it, to help clean it of, the energy that it's been absorbing from all the stuff happening in its vicinity that are not uplifting. And I found that at the markets that the amethyst was perfectly happy being out there once a week in the full sun, maybe for 15 minutes, half an hour. But again, I had turnover, so I would recommend that if you're going to do it for only 5 to 10 minutes, and do it while you're in the sun. Hey, you need the vitamin D, and that means you'll get a bit hot and bothered after about 10 minutes, and you'll remember to take all your crystals back inside. The idea of leaving them, it's not the purpose. Crystals can clean themselves really quickly. You just need to have a strong intention that the amethyst is going in the sun to be clean and energized, and it can do it fast. If it needs a really strong cleaning, well, you can continue the work when it's back inside. And again, there'll be a video about all the different techniques to help clean your crystals really properly through all the different levels. But as I said, this is more a practical video for people. So that's the first mistake a lot of people make, is they say, yes, I bought a beautiful amethyst cake 5 years ago. No one said anything about the sun. I put it out in my garden and it's lost all its colour. Please, not for you now that you've heard this. Pass it on to anyone you do know who's got a cave. The next thing is people don't realise that crystals keep growing. And so people buy these lovely amethyst caves, or this can be applied to really any crystal cluster. And the dirt accumulates, and the dirt accumulates, and the dirt accumulates. Now, if you're a good little cleaner and you've been regularly taking them out to give them a full moon ceremony or put them in the sun and you wash them as part of that, well done. But caves are often quite heavy, and people don't think about the fact that they're gathering dust. And what happens is, if you don't clean the dust and the crystal is continuing to grow without you knowing it grows over the dust, and the dust becomes a permanent fixture of your crystal. Now, I got to see that when someone sold me a big fluorite piece that had been sitting in the bottom of a cupboard under the clothes for 20 years, and they were now downsizing. It wasn't a crystal they'd bought, it had been a crystal that had been gifted to their daughter. She'd left home, she wasn't into crystals, and they'd just been dumped in the bottom of the closet. So now it came time that they wanted to downsize and they had to deal with it. So they came and asked, would I buy it? And that was where I really got to see the harm that comes if you do not keep your crystals dusted. It had grown completely and utterly over the dust, and it wasn't that lovely purple cluster you like. So while someone very beautifully bought it, dust and all, because I just couldn't clean any of the old dust out, but someone knew that it was their piece and didn't mind, it's time for me to say, let's not do it to your amethyst caves or to your big clusters or even your small clusters. So here's me washing them. What you don't realise is amethyst or any quartzes are actually a really strong crystal. Now watch me hosing. You can see it's got a very strong stream. Hey, amethyst has grown in water. You know, at some point as it was growing, you know, little cracks occurred through earthquakes and through its own shrinkage as it, you know, the lava and everything cools around it. And so, you know, water accumulates inside it. And when they open up a cave to check if it's worth extracting, you know, all the water comes flooding out. I was at the mine, I saw this happen. And then they peer in and just see what the quality's like. So amethyst is perfectly fine with 100% water all the time, unless you've got one that just happens to have a lot of inclusions, in which case all bets are off. But we're talking about the typical amethyst cave that most people have gotten or are dreaming of. If nothing else, just let these videos help you manifest your amethyst cave as you keep it out of the sun and you keep it beautifully dusted while watering it. There we are. That's a lovely extra visual to put in your manifestation pictures. So as you can see, I've still got it in the shade because it's a warm day, so I know it'll dry and the shade will stop it getting damaged. So I'm hosing it hard. The amethyst perfectly happy with it. If you do happen to have some calcite inclusions, just give it a bit of a sense of how well anchored they are. To be honest, most of the calcite that turns up at shops, by the time it's been shipped and over bumpy roads and up in plains and down in plains and things, any loose calcite would have come off by now anyway. So you can see that I'm giving it a really good hose just to get it in all the crevices. You may then ask, well, what do you do when you've got a cave that's just too big to move, which used to happen in the shop when I had a lot of big caves. So what you've got to do is put a whole lot of towels around, you know, just waterproof the area as best as possible, and then just use cups of water. I used to do just cups of water, throwing them in the cave, throwing them in, whooshing them in to clean them, and then of course obviously tilt them forward so that the water can then run out. Again, I would always make sure it was a warm day so that the caves could dry. It's not so much that the amethyst would get damaged, but the concrete around it could perhaps be getting a bit loose from sitting in puddles of water. Yes, that bottom part of the amethyst of a cave is concrete. Again, that's probably not something anyone's mentioned, but an amethyst comes out in all different shapes. It can be quite wonky. You know, it's rarely round, it's usually all over the place. And so when they cut it in half to turn it into two caves, well, they need to make sure it can stand upright. So a good person will only put the minimal amount of concrete there to make sure it stands up. Some of the naughtier suppliers will put several inches of concrete underneath. So, and then they paint the concrete so it looks better. And to be honest, it does make the amethyst pop, having a lovely black coating around it. But this is the thing that's more likely to be damaged, and you could see me actually hosing like mad the back of it. If that starts to crumble away, just go get a pot of paint and again just touch it up. I've done that over the time. The next image I'm just going to show you is in fact a very big amethyst piece. It used to be probably part of a very big amethyst cave, but when they tried to extract it, it must have fallen into parts. So I got this really big piece. And believe me, it's one of my oldest crystals. I've had it for like 20 years. She has a name. I went through a period of wanting to name all my crystals, and she said her name was Jodeline. And her purpose was not to be sold. It was to be my temple crystal. And honestly, she and I have done some amazing work over the years. She has sat in the healing room when I used to do healings from home before I had a shop. And she just held the energy just amazingly. We did some fantastic sessions in that room. Once the shop opened, I didn't want to take her to the shop because the room tended to be set up, take down, set up, take down. So she went onto the home altar, and there she held the energy of the house beautifully for another decade. Now, if you want a healing, don't ring me. I don't do healings anymore. I'm teaching you to let your crystals do all this amazing work with you. That's my work now. So here she is. She's also getting a really big blast of water. She has got some calcite on there, but they're very well lodged. Unfortunately, she was in a very dusty area, and at times I can go through some very high stress levels, which various people can attest to. And I just wouldn't get on with cleaning her. I wasn't coping enough to do it. And so you can see she's gone very slightly murky where she's grown up and over some of the dust. Anyway, now that I'm in my new mode, and I can keep her much more clean, so she'll be looking more and more sparkly from now on. So I hope this helped you know not to be frightened of washing your amethyst caves or your large amethyst clusters and things. Again, I'm talking about the ones that are very strongly bonded. It's up to you to judge whether it looks like they're strong bonds or weak bonds before you do this to any of your crystals. Do not do it, for example, to your selenite desert roses. Then you'll have no crystal left at the end of it. I had obviously an outside sink. I didn't have to care for protecting the crystal or the sink. But if you're doing it inside the house, in the kitchen sink, in the laundry sink, and you have a crystal that you're worried about being damaged, just line the surface with a whole lot of, kitchen tea towels so they get wet. That's their job. And you'll find it'll make it much easier. So they stayed outside for about 12 hours while they dried out. And now the cave is in the hallway and looks beautiful there. Just to welcome everyone coming through the door, to just set the energy of the house really beautiful at the front. And Jodeline is back in the bedroom blessing the marriage. Yes, she's sitting there with a whole lot of other crystals to bless the marriage. So I hope this helped. I hope this makes a lot of sense to you. And it's one of many of the Did You Know series, tips and techniques that I'm hoping to do on this channel. Some of the topics will have more of a metaphysical bent, but I thought I'd start with the easy stuff that is universally needs to be known by everyone. So blessings with your time with crystals. Blessings, and have a great day.